This podcast is brought to you by Crafted Arts and Veil Jewelry Workshop.
Another one that will stand the test of time is, I think for you as well, working, even if it was just for a scene or a dance sequence, was with Marilyn Monroe. Um, I want to be unique when I ask the questions, but I feel like the questions have already been asked and you've given the answers, but I'll just go ahead and ask anyway. But what was it
Well,
like to work with, dance with, be in the same scene as Marilyn Monroe?
yeah. That number, the gentleman for Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, that's the number, was choreographed by an amazing choreographer. His name was Jack Cole. You probably know who he is because he did. And by the way, after that film, Marilyn wanted Jack Cole and no one else ever to do anything if she was doing something with movement. And she was right. He was and I was a chorus dancer, and the dancers in town, the two choreographers, the dancers most wanted to work for were Jack Cole and another gentleman whose name was Robert Alton. He was wonderful too, very, very different in styles and so on. But those were the two men that all the dancers really wanted to work for. So working for Jack Cole, the I didn't pay any attention to anything around me except trying to learn what he wanted, what we were doing for him. Uh, I wasn't working for any that. So, I do remember Marilyn came in a couple of times to work by herself with I can't remember the name of the of Jack assistant at the time, but once the film, even working on the film with Marilyn in that beautiful pink dress and all that stuff, your concentration still was on the work and not paying attention to anybody around me. But in retrospect, obviously I was taking things in because what I can remember and I about her was she was very quiet. She was really, 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 really dedicated to the work. When they called cut for any reason, she didn't go to her dressing room. She didn't look at a mirror. She didn't try to figure, she didn't do any of that. She went right back to her starting position to start again, just like we did. And I got to be around her other times as well, in professional situations. And again, the thing I always start with her is how quiet she was. She didn't try to uh, draw attention to herself unless she was working. That's different.
Mm.
But she was also in a film, and I worked in the chorus of it too, called "There's No Business Like Show Business."
Mm.
One day at the end of a rehearsal day, I don't remember the reason, but we were all invited to have a glass of wine, just so everybody was there. And Marilyn uh, arrived with the two gentlemen. She's very quiet. And the girl who was my dancing partner on that movie was Drusilla Davis. She was a great friend. And uh, Drusilla said about Marilyn, she said, "Why don't I go over there and ask her to give you a kiss on the cheek?" And I said, "No, no." Well, she did it anyway. To Marilyn, who was not far away, and she pointed my and I heard Marilyn Monroe say in response to Drew's request, "Give that boy a kiss on the cheek." Marilyn said, "But I don't know him." I love that response. Because she could have nicely said, "Oh, sure." She said, "No, I don't know him." I think these little bits and pieces say things about people. And there was one of in she was also, of course, in No Business Like Show Business, which Robert Alton, the other choreographer that the kids always wanted to work for. And there's a in that film, her character does the Heatwave number, and Robert Alton was a very important choreographer and been contracted to do all the musical numbers for that film. Marilyn wanted Jack Cole to do the Heatwave number, and Robert Alton knew that. So what he did, and I thought it was really very respectful of him to do. He went to one of the screening rooms at Fox to screen a number that Marilyn done in the River of No Return called "I'm Going to File My Claim," which is a very double entendre kind of number, because Jack Cole was always sexy, and sometimes it got to be too much, but never. So Robert Alton with his assistants went to the screening room, and a couple of us said, "Can we come too?" So they let us come, and we sat down in front, didn't bother anybody. And that number, "I'm going to file my claim," is actually very funny because of the sexual stuff that is, it's just funny. It's so well done by Jack Cole. So we kind of giggled. And Robert Alton and his crew thought it was vulgar. What he did was he created a heat wave number of his own for Marilyn to look at when he finished. So he had a female assistant who danced in for Marilyn, and he hired 4 boys to be around her in this number, and I got to be one of the boys picked for that number. So it took about, as I recall, about 4 weeks for him to actually create that number. And the end of 4 weeks, it was a beautiful warm day in California, and that rehearsal studio was great, big. But anyway, so when it was ready for him to show her the number, she came in by herself, no entourage, none of that. She came in by herself. She was very polite, and we did the number for her, and she said, "Thank you very much." And she very, very quietly left. And Jack Cole did the number. So she got what she wanted, is my point. But she was right, because we all love Bob Alton, but we knew there's no one like Jack Cole but Jack Cole. So what he did for her in that, and I think she, after that, so that would, that was the heat wave number that ended up being done by Jack Cole. Why am I telling you this? I've lost my track.
It's all good. It's absolutely fine. I'm really intrigued, really interested by it. I'm loving every story.
And then I remember her watching us do that number, and again, how quiet and how courteous she was. And the thing that I really, really kind of liked, I guess, when I think about it, is that she was quiet. She was, I've thought to myself that I don't know her at all, but I've met Jerome Robbins was absolutely a perfectionist, but I think she was too. When I think about her, I think she was a perfectionist too. She absolutely knew. I don't know how she knew it or what she knew, but something that nobody else around her could possibly know, and that's. Anyway, she was, and of course she was so beautiful to look at, and she was so young. She had, well, she did um, Jennifer Blunt. I think she was 24 or something. She was really young. And also this thing of now I go back, I'm sorry to think of Kamala Harris in our last this election and all that stuff, and a woman, and how difficult it is for, it's always been so difficult for women. And I think back to girls who were interested in show business, who were interested in wanting to be in film and so on. They were up against men, just. And how difficult it must have been to try to move forward with your life and with your work and do what you want to do. And the fact that she did it so beautifully and became who we all know, was, I think, wow, it's like winning a war,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's living on through the legacy anyway that she's left. She's still a star in her own right.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And you mean today?
Oh yeah.
And
Even today, even the younger generation will go,
Because
oh, Marilyn Monroe.
she remains contemporary. She's
Mm,
there's nothing dated about her. And she's contemporary. She's now,
yeah,
yeah,
so ahead of her time, basically. Way ahead of her time.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Creative Space podcast channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified for more content in the future. Thank you once again.